Yeah, I'm driving now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm headed up to, I'm about headed to, well, I'm ready to where my company's at, but I won't get there tonight. I have to stop at the truck stop, deliver there in the morning and get another load. And I deliver to San Diego Friday. So I'm going to take this weekend off. My
Okay.
daughter's birthday is Monday, so I'm going to have a little birthday party for her Sunday.
Okay. Cool. Down in San Diego?
5 years old. Yeah,
Good. Good stuff.
5 years old.
Already, huh? Good stuff, Devon. Good stuff. Good stuff. What are you guys gonna do for her birthday party? Like take her to the park or anything, or?
Yeah, just kind of have like a little, like, little gathering at the park, kind of all us together and kind of take, presents, letting them run around a little bit. That's about it.
Okay.
Let them have fun, whatever is available. I don't know. I know some people be having the jungle and stuff closed down, but most of them are back open for the most part.
Yeah.
I've been to a few places where I've seen they have like with caution tape and stuff.
Right.
I think that's about it.
Crazy.
I mean, I'll probably spend some time, but I wanted to, I always take it to this pizza place called Surf Rider Pizza
Okay.
in Mesa.
Nice.
Yeah, they have little cupcakes and pastries and stuff like that, like different stuff that they make. Last time I went, they didn't have it because I guess the baker person that was doing all this stuff had quit, so they were, I guess they had a new person start the next week. So hopefully we can go over there and have all their pastries and stuff. But they have different kind of slices of pizza and stuff like that. I just kind of like the little atmosphere. It's kind of interesting.
Nice. Cool.
And then they have an outside area, so you can sit outside.
Yeah. Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, enjoy your time with your daughter.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Good stuff. Yeah, my son turns 5. My son turns 5 in March 23rd. So he's gonna be 5. So they're about they're the same age.
March 23rd.
Yeah, March 23rd.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah. Good stuff. All right, Devon, let me check in with a few different people, man. We're just so glad to hear that that you've got over that few months of crud and you're back on the road and making money again and you're healthy again. So praise the Lord for that. Absolutely. Good stuff. Let me, Mr. Whitman again. Happy New Year, sir. 2021. I mean, should be a resolution, a goal for 2021 to get a microphone so we can hear your voice. I've only seen you, or a video camera that has a mic in it. But we're just happy that you're able to join. Hope you and your family are doing well. I hope you're staying healthy, and all that good stuff. So, God bless you, sir. Let's say hi to Elizabeth real quick. Hey, sis.
So much has been going on.
Okay, you want to go last. All right, never mind. I'll come back to you. I already know. When you say that, I know what that means. We'll wait for more people to come on so we can hear you, Elizabeth. Cool?
Okay.
All right. Mute yourself for now. Mr. Lopez.
Yes, how you doing?
What's going on, New York?
Been missing y'all. Been missing the interaction. Been missing the grow, especially now that I've been needing more to fit my spirit because I'm stopping like to feed the body just for 21 days. So I need to connect more. So the first couple of days feels a little bit difficult. Then when you start going to the next day, you start getting irritated about things. And I don't know if it's the hunger thing or what it is, but
Yeah. Well, yeah, man. I mean, I see your sleeves rolled up. So I mean, you out there? You working out? Are you?
Yeah, but the fastest make me look a whole lot skinnier.
That's
I
good.
didn't know fasting could make you look like you lost weight when you probably haven't lost none.
Yeah, man. I mean, it makes your muscles show.
Yeah. But everything been good. Just trying to not set like resolution and none of that. Just set goals of doing things. So getting ready to start school in February. So
Okay.
that I was about to get my license last month, and COVID stopped the road tests. So now I'm waiting until them to reschedule. They were supposed to reschedule January 4th, but now they're talking about February 1st. So hopefully February 1st they start rescheduling us, and I can get my license and start enjoying San Diego.
Yeah. As much as you can without being restricted, but yeah,
Yeah.
I gotcha. Oh man. Well, that's cool. So you can do it in February. You gonna give up your New York license?
I don't have a New York license, so do not, anybody that's on here, do not be surprised when you meet people that are grown past their 18 years old in New York and don't have a driver's license. It's a headache to have a driver's license in New York. You gotta know parallel parking. You can't pass the license if you don't pass the parallel parking part. And then the fine parking in any place in New York will take you hours. And I'm not exaggerating about it. Especially in New York City, you pay to park somewhere and they're gonna charge you $50 for an hour. Even if you only stay 15 minutes, and then to find the meters in the street, those meter cops, they waiting for you to pass a second or just a minute, and you're getting a ticket. You ain't disputing that.
Right.
That's how you dispute it in court.
Right. So that's why there's so many people on the subway, huh?
Yeah, because it's easier. You get there faster. Less traffic, everything. So you make it faster. You ain't got to worry about parking.
So you had never gotten a license anywhere?
No.
Okay.
I had got my permit when I was 17, and it was something that most of all my friends was doing, and we was driving only with a permit.
Yeah. Good stuff, man. What have you been doing? What have you been doing ministry wise in the last 2 months?
Ministry wise, I've been doing I have the Bible app, so I've been doing a lot of Bible studies there. Right now I'm doing a yearly Bible reading. So I just take little subjects and lately having small ones with little videos, and I've been doing that. Before they started having me work on Sunday again, I was able to go to the outside door service, helping them putting up the church back, putting the church up in the morning and breaking it down. And it's funny for the San Isidro campus. It's something that we're so used to that it happens so fast and we have everything connected. They were even asking people to go to the other campus to help them how to build a system, how to build their church and put them back down, because now we have the outside church at different sites. So that's what I've been doing with ministry, and basically ministry to loved one and families on one-on-one.
Oh, okay. Good stuff. You've been doing way more than me. I'm proud of you, man. You inspire me.
It's not how much we do. It's just doing a little bit and open the door to do more.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, you inspire me to want to do more. Good stuff. All right, I'll come back to you in a little bit. Tonight, before I get to Lisa, tonight what I wanted to do is, I don't have a lesson plan prepared. What I wanted to do tonight is just have an opportunity to catch up with one another as far as the last few months, transition to the new year, thoughts about what's going on in the world, the transition of power, and kind of what's been going on with that. So I'll come back and ask you those questions in a little bit. Give everybody an opportunity to kind of just, maybe collect your thoughts and just kind of see where what playing field we're all on, where we are spiritually, mentally, physically, all those different things, so we can propel into the new year, all together, knowing where each other stand. And then the other part of that too is I want to be able to do either I'll do a poll or a question like I normally do when we start a new study, and just get your input as far as where it is. Think in the back of your mind where it is that you want to go as far as studying. What book do you want to study? For the last few years, we've done. We just finished John, but we've done Acts, Revelation, Romans. I think that's it in the last 4 years. Acts, Revelation, and Romans. So, as far as what you want to do, Old Testament, New Testament, Pauline epistles, whatever, just kind of let's talk it out and see what you want to do. If you want to do a subject matter rather than a specific book, we can do that too. So, however you feel. So, before that, let me check in with Lisa. Miss Jordan, what's going on, sister?
It's a better day today. What about you?
Good. I'm hanging in there. I just what was I doing? I was cleaning out my garage today, so I ordered a dumpster from Waste Management, and they put it out front, and I just spent the day because our garage, and then a little bit in our house got infested with some mice. We found all their little hiding places, so the shelves that I built in there were all covered. There's mouse poop everywhere, so I had to clean all the shelves and sweep and throw away a bunch of stuff that that they got into. So that's what I'm doing today. So my back hurts, obviously.
Yes, you have a dumpster size full of stuff to get rid of.
Yeah, I'm only halfway there. So,
Okay.
So how you doing?
I'm pathetic. I didn't have as much, but I had started my spring cleaning project, and then I got towards the end of the year and said, I need to ratchet it up. So I actually found someone who's a spring cleaner, a cleaner and organizer. Because she was like, no, this is going to take a while.
Yeah.
Because, I had, my back still bothers me, so I couldn't reach up and I couldn't get down, so everything either ended up on the floor or on the counter. So
Right.
we did the kitchen one time, we did the living room, and I guess, and the bathroom. So I guess, there are a couple of other rooms that will need a deep clean, but looking better.
Yeah.
Looking better.
Well, good. Is she kind of like what's her one lady's name? Marie. Gosh, I can't think of her name. The one that does all the organizing. Is your friend like that? And
no, she's a very interesting woman who I met her. Her name was Summer, and then she had I have a friend who had a daughter named Summer, and she was like 17 and blonde and did yoga.
oh,
This Summer showed up a little bit older with a neck tattoo, and I'm like, I
yeah,
don't know. But it turns out that we had a lot in common, and she's very creative. And so by the second time, she was getting to know me because, we had these bands, and she was like, and she's like, what goes in here? And I said, well, I'm still trying to decide. And she goes, no, this is the keep one. We decide right now. You keep it or you toss it. And I'm like, okay.
yeah,
And then, like, by the end of it, she had all these, like, I had scores. I'm like, I don't know, they go to something. Anyway, I don't know. They've been there for years. I still don't know.
Yeah. yeah. But doesn't it feel good afterwards, though, Lisa? The purge.
It is good. That is, it's clean, and it's stuff that you're never going to find what that cord goes to.
Right.
And at this point, you could probably buy a cord for like $1.50 off of Amazon.
Right.
So, but I grew up with my mom and my parents were grew up in the South post Depression, and so it was like save everything.
Yeah.
So look out that glass bottle, you might be able to find another use for it, and and then you end up with 50 bottles, and you're like, well, maybe I don't need them all. So that was a good one. I'm still with my mom and my sister. I go back and forth. My sister is doing a little better. She's at home, and her one main symptom is fatigue, and she has trouble breathing, but since she has asthma, that's like not unexpected. But they took my mom to the hospital, And then they were talking. I was talking to my sister today. I have two sisters. One is a former doctor and one is a former nurse. I find that one who's a former doctor who has a very bad bedside manner is not very helpful when trying to glean information. So they were talking about letting my mom go home. I can't decide if that's a good thing or a bad thing, so I'm supposed to talk to my other sister tonight and get her. She doesn't seem as upset about it, so that may be a good time.
Okay. Okay. And your mom, you're still working on the conservatorship?
Well, that's always an ongoing thing because we are officially her conservators, so we do her accounting and stuff. So that's coming up. We were trying to sell her house because she has a 1/3 interest in her house, which makes it complicated. And so I did one version of it, but it didn't. The judge wanted more information, so we have someone else planning that.
Yeah.
And so in the midst of all this, she gets sick, right? And so we don't know. And it goes back and forth. Sometimes it seems like she's perfectly fine, and then other times I'm like, oh my god, what am I gonna do?
You're right.
So it's a roller coaster, right?
Right.
And it was like reading tea leaves. What did they say? And I'm like, and it's interesting because the one sister who is always negative, she does things like, well, she said in the beginning. She was saying that COVID, oh yeah, people were dropping like flies. I said, perhaps it's not the way you want to put it to the rest of your family or whatever.
Right.
But then my other sister is a bit more mild and is a good people person. So, but she can't talk a lot because when you talk, that irritates your lungs, and so you start coughing. So we try not to make her cough a lot.
Yeah, gotcha.
But it's interesting that when you start talking to people, they all start having these COVID stories. Because I had to call people and let them know, and they were like, "Oh yeah, somebody in my office died the other day," or my wife had it and she had nothing, no symptoms at all.
Yeah, somebody, 6 degree separation is like 1 degree. Yeah, because I just found out today that my next door neighbor died. My next door neighbor, her dad, who lives with them, passed away because of COVID last month. And then I just got a text from my brother right before Bible study to say he just tested positive for it. And I was like, "What's your symptoms? What are you feeling?" So he just told me, how he's feeling. So yeah, it's just pretty crazy. Everybody has a COVID story.
Yes. Some people just don't want to have a COVID story.
Yeah.
This is not how I wanted to start 2021. I was like, 2021 is going to be so much better. And then, boom! That's not going to work out.
Well, I feel fortunate. I put on the prayer chain to because I took the family to Maui and we all had to take COVID tests, and there was 5 adults and my 3 children, so 8 of us total were going to go, and then only 1 adult tested positive, so he couldn't go. It was my my sister-in-law's boyfriend. He's like 20-some years old. So it was just almost like a miracle, the stress of wanting to travel even in the U.S. and having to test negative within 72 hours of arriving. And you have all these arrangements, and it was just stressful. And so finally when we got there, and I didn't, my wife's like, "We're on the plane." I'm like, "I'm not going to believe it until we actually get to the hotel," So we finally got to the hotel, and it was perfect, and 10 nights, 11 days, and it was just amazing. We were trying to look for ways not to come back. Like, hey, let's tell them we have COVID so we can't come back to to mainland. But yeah, that didn't work out. And it's crazy because we get back, and my wife and I, we qualified for our company trip, and they were supposed to go to Cabo San Lucas next month, but Mexico has restrictions, or U.S. has restrictions coming back from Mexico. So I guess my wife talked to the owner of the company, and there's like 25 of us traveling or something, and they're going back to Hawaii. So So I got to go through the process again
Okay.
in March.
So do they are they still making people quarantine in their hotel for the first day or so in Hawaii?
So, only right now in Kauai and Lanai, I think, they have to quarantine. So, Maui and Oahu, you can show up with a negative test and not have to quarantine.
Yeah, but Kauai and Lanai are so small. There ain't no people there.
Yeah. They're like, we don't want to get infected because it might take our whole island out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
But yes.
yeah, I heard somebody was telling me that I think somebody went to one of those, maybe Kauai, and they landed and they told him he had to quarantine. And then he went to Costco to get some supplies because he would have to go in quarantine. They arrested him in Costco and brought him to jail.
Yeah, you hear stories like that.
Yeah, that's
It
crazy.
makes no sense. Because, the 20-year-old has no worries, right?
Right.
And like 4 of the 5 categories really don't necessarily have worries.
Right.
But anyway, don't get me started on logic and reason and this whole.
No, not yet. Well, we have other things to talk about before you get into that. Yeah. Thanks, Lise. I'll be back to you in a minute.
All right.
Okay, Elizabeth, we are waiting for you.
Okay.
So,
I have been praying for America.
okay.
Praying and praying. My son was scoring in the bottom 1% for ACT and SAT because he has Asperger's. It's a mild form of autism. They don't call it Asperger's anymore. He can't take a test to save his life, and I was praying and praying. And then this whole Corona thing happened, and they were like, we're going to waive the ACT and SAT. And he got into East Tennessee State University.
Wow.
I was like,
that is amazing.
I was wanting everything for him. He wanted in computer design, and the only way he was going to do that was through college. And I'm just like, I don't know how we're going to get you in. I didn't know.
Wow. Praise God. That's awesome.
He does. He listens. He really does. And then I was praying for my daughter. She would go to school, and she'd have a bad day, and then the school would call me, and I'd have to go and pick her up because she suffers from severe depression.
Yeah.
And they called me again, and I had, it was like all the time throughout school. They call me, pick her up, they call me, pick her up. And then they have online schooling now. So now I got her into the online schooling program to where she doesn't have to be at school. And her days are just so much better, I'm not having to go and pick her up. She's a different kid.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Praise God. Is she taking her meds regularly?
Yes.
Okay.
She is.
Okay. And they finally found one. They finally found one that she doesn't react badly to. Like she's good on.
Yes.
Good.
Yes, and in the process of that, they think she has ADHD, so she's been taking medication for that, and she says it's been working. She's being able to pay attention better in school. So we're doing everything right, I guess.
Is it still Ritalin for ADHD?
It's like a form of it, but it's different off-brand.
Oh, okay.
So they all have their downsides to what they do and they can't do, but she's doing really great. On the downside, my neighbor, her husband got COVID. And unfortunately, he didn't make it. He had complications. And he was always out in the yard all the time. He would always do all the yard work. And we live in an HOA, and we noticed her yard getting covered in leaves. And so I was like, let's just have the whole family go out there and we'll rake up her leaves in her yard. And so that's what we did. We raked them up, and I was telling my husband, I was like, she would make us some cookies. And she did. I didn't even have to, I didn't say, hey, make us cookies. She made us banana pudding with, little vanilla cookies.
Aw, that's awesome.
But I can't imagine what she's going through.
Yeah.
I talked to her about that, and I can't, the love of your life, you've been married for so many years, and all of a sudden, you thought you were the one who would go first, and now you're not,
Right. Yeah, it's tough.
But,
Yeah, as I was telling Lisa about my next door neighbor, they've been married 49 years. Their 50th anniversary was next year, and so the grandma was more mad that he didn't wait another year to get to 50.
right?
It's crazy. Oh, Elizabeth, I was just thinking about you. Is there a town called starts with an M, like Murfree or something, or MURF?
With Memphis. Are you talking about Tennessee or
Yeah.
Michigan?
Tennessee.
I know Memphis. That's the one I know that starts with an M.
Okay.
There's Powell, Knoxville, maybe Knoxville.
No, I gotta look it up. But one of our clients who was looking to sell out here was looking to Tennessee to move to and buy a new house over there, and they're gonna go first week of February, go check everything out. But then my wife found an article by U-Haul that they were looking at the last year and compared it to the year before of one-way U-Haul rentals and where they were going. And guess what the top state is?
What's that?
Tennessee.
Well,
Apparently,
I hear so many people from California that are coming out here.
the number
My
one.
husband's like,
Stop them! Don't let them in!
don't let the Californians in.
I'm from California.
Yeah.
Like, this is a really great place to live. Like, I would recommend it to anybody.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get a rock church located out here.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm trying to wait to find somebody who's like giving up their business or something, and there's like a room, that we could hold church.
Yeah.
I'm being optimistic.
Yeah, no, it'll happen. It'll happen. It's crazy to think. The amount of people moving to Tennessee is unreal. I think they've been number one for the last 2 years, and then number two has always been Texas, and number three is Florida, are the top three. And guess what the worst state of moving to is, Lisa?
Tennessee?
No, the worst state.
California!
California. Yeah, and New York. Yeah, exactly. Those. Yeah.
Yeah, my husband said his job that he works for, they're like international. He said they pulled them out of New York because it was too expensive to have the business there, and they relocated everybody.
Yeah, probably to Ohio or somewhere because Ohio's in the top 5 too.
Yeah.
Crazy, so crazy. So my wife was looking into it. She's like, maybe we will think about it. But there's a max exodus out of California.
Yeah, I'm telling you, Tennessee, we have waterfalls. I mean, the water, I've never seen crystal clear water on land. Maybe in the ocean, when we went to Saipan, the water was crystal clear and it's warm, and they had rapids and stuff like that. We took actually, I don't know if I told you, but we had taken our dogs tubing with us, and we did that while we were out here during the summer.
Nice.
I was like, everything was closed, but for some reason we could go tubing. I
Yeah.
don't know, so we went tubing.
There wasn't Category 5 rapids or anything. It was just a smooth ride.
There were rapids, but it wasn't nothing that, someone who's new at it couldn't handle.
Oh, okay. Well,
It was
you're
rapids, and then it would calm out.
you're selling Tennessee well, so I don't know. We might go out and visit again.
I am trying, I look all the time, other businesses that are just trying to give away a place for, a church to hold their services at, because I love the walk, I love everything about it, and that was the only reason I wanted to stay in San Diego.
Oh, awesome. Well, you can start it up yourself. There's enough Californians coming out. You just advertise it, and I guarantee they'll show up at your house.
Yeah, I see them on online when I do church online, and I watch the 12 o'clock services. People are like, yeah, I'm from Knoxville, Tennessee. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
It's just over there from me.
All you have to do, seriously, is become like a Bible, like I did, as far as being a leader, and then telling them where you are, and people will start.
I'm not a leader, though. I'm not. I'm a prayer warrior. That's what I do. I pray and God listens.
We'll start a prayer group. Start a prayer group. You can do it. They'll branch from there, and leader will come out.
I hope so.
Yeah. Cool. All right, let me go around robin again. Elizabeth, thank you for sharing all those praise reports. We're just so elated to see God working in people's lives and seeing prayer answer. It's just amazing. I just love seeing that. All right, so I'm going to go second round of questions here real quick. I guess I'll tell you where I'm coming from on this. Give my little standpoint, I guess. For the last few months, honestly, and then I was telling Andy, basically, his inspiration to me, just knowing how much he's in the Word. And I literally probably didn't spend any time in the Word at all in the last 2 months since we stopped Bible study. Obviously, I'm in it quite often, preparing every week, but it was almost like 2 months of a sabbatical. Just, let me just see what the world is all about. Get my head out of, preparing for Bible study and being in the Word and doing those things, and let me just see what the world's talking about. And I'm gonna tell you guys, the world's crazy. There's so many crazy things going on, and I told myself since I went clean and sober 15, 16 years ago in 2005 that I thought to myself, I didn't think I would ever drink like hard alcohol again. And but for the last 2 months, it's like it's been around, and I'm like, I find myself drinking hard alcohol again. Not going getting crazy or anything, but it wasn't something that was on my radar. But what I found myself in the last couple months realizing, and I started following different things. I started learning about QAnon and learning about Trump and learning about the Democrats and just both sides, even the extremists, and then hearing all the different each side and what they believe and what they see and how they see and what lens they see things through. And then going deeper into, I have some friends that are, sending me some information about, the Trump followers and supporters, and then QAnon. I don't know if you know about QAnon and who Q is and what they purport is going to happen through Trump. And it's almost, and I was seeing all this and I was getting very disheartened, because what I was seeing was, if you don't know what QAnon is basically, just short story, is basically this group of people with secret things that have been spoken to them, and Trump through his tweets and different things and different leaders. There's information that's being held that they're going to release to the world, and that would indict basically all of Washington, D.C. and all that other stuff. So part of it, they're waiting for the Q to step out of the ashes, to bring peace to the rest of the world once the craziness of Washington and politics is wiped out. Now this whole new reset, the Great Reset, all that stuff was going to emerge out of that. And all I kept seeing and seeing in QAnon is, and they actually purport it to be, they believe JFK Jr. didn't die, and he's coming back to revenge his father's death from 1960s, because JFK Jr. and Donald Trump were friends, and they feel like they're moving this movement. So I got really deep into all this, but so they're waiting for JFK Jr. They believe maybe he's Q, the one who's going to step out of the ashes and bring peace to everybody. And all I kept, because as much as how deep we went into Revelation, and all I kept thinking was, the person who brings peace in the time of tribulation is the Antichrist. And the support that the Antichrist gets from the Catholic Church is the false prophet. And so I started seeing what the Catholic Church was teaching and what the Pope was saying was okay and all these other things, really far off from some of its original doctrine. Seeing the leadership and seeing all these things, so you're almost waiting for something out of this world to happen. We looked at the inauguration today, waiting for something grand to happen today, because they were purporting all that. So obviously on that side, and then on the other side, the politics and the changes and leadership and the sad part about it is it's such a split. You're on one side or the other, even if you want to be arm's length away. I'm a Bible believer. I believe Christ is he's the Bible tells us that Jesus is leader of all leaders. He's the head of all heads. He's the king of all kings. And nothing in this world is going to surprise him. But the world in itself is trying to control its own destiny. And I was in a funk for a couple months, just trying to figure out how I should feel and where I should fit in the total equation of the world happenings. So all that to say, I just want to see where you guys in the last couple months leading up to we left off basically with the elections last time we talked in November to inauguration day today. So where do you fit in the spectrum? How have you been feeling about world leadership, world change, our life here in America? Like, where do you fit on that spectrum, and your thought process as far as how you go on a day-to-day? How do you approach other people when people start talking politics or religion or something like that? Are you try to push them off and run the other direction? Like, where are you in the grand scheme of your ideology and thought process?
I personally don't know what to think. Sometimes I'll have an opinion, but it doesn't really matter, not in my book. But when I hear other people talking and they tell me why they voted for Biden, it just makes sense for them, but for me, for them. Because I know they were talking about getting rid of Social Security, and my friend was, she's battling MS, like, for most of her life. She's been dealing with it, and that would totally have just destroyed her life if that would have gotten taken away from her. I know other people who depend on Social Security, and I hear all the individual stories, and I kind of more listen to other people. I personally don't really have an opinion on it. Like, sometimes I'll be like, oh, I'm against Trump. Sometimes I'll be for him. But, there's something good in everybody.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks, Elizabeth. Devon, Andy? Before Lisa gets in, because Lisa's going to go off.
Lisa's smart, though. I want to hear what she's going to say.
I know. That's why she's going to go last. Hey, Devon, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Devon.
Okay.
Well, for me personally, I've dealt with things as I drive on the road, or I had Black Lives Matter on my truck at one time, before things started getting real outrageous, things just started getting out of hand. But, and people took it personal. I had some people stick their middle finger at me, driving down the road. I had some of the drivers from my company, asking me questions about it. I basically told them what it meant to me, or what I meant by it. But outside all of that, and after that, we've been having a lot of other things going on, like the QAnon, and I do a lot of research, and I go look up stuff, and I read information, and I listen to more than one pastor, and I dive deep into, different what people have to say, what are their beliefs and why they believe it. And I'll go look at the information and go make my judgment based upon that, on whether, I agree about it. For the most part, like I said, there's been a lot of crazy stuff going on. Me, I'm in the truck all the time, so I'm always around random people, and people will spark a conversation with me. For the most part, I try not to be judgmental of others, and I allow them to speak. And, most of the time I just agree with them, I just shake my head, or, say, okay, and if somebody asks me my honest opinion, I'll give my honest opinion. But for the most part, if I'm not going to see someone every day, I don't really dive too deep with them most of the time. Unless somebody says something, like, hey, brother, God bless, or something like that, then I might, get into a little deeper conversation with them, But, for me personally, on my perspective, I kind of had the same feeling about the whole, end times, and the whole, if this is really happening, then that's what we're leading into, this end times, So, where you kind of had that emphasis at, where you were saying that with the QAnon thing, and for me, I'm not, like, I don't just believe people just because they tell me something. Like I said, I go research it and go find out what is going on. I watch Fox News, I watch CNN, I watch everybody. Like, I'm not biased about my, thought process. I try to go and look at both sides before I make my decision to see, well, why are they saying this, or why are they, not saying this, or why are they, Democrats, so what are they fighting about right research and go from there, you know. And I mean, I don't agree with a lot of stuff, you know, that I don't agree with abortion. I don't, you know, I definitely don't believe in that. But I mean, there's a lot of stuff that I don't believe in, you know. So it's kind of like I don't know. Either it's like a losing battle for either one. You know, there's going to be something missing, or they're going to be doing something I don't want them to do. So I mean, you got. So it's kind of like that's the kind of. It's like that catch-22 thing, you know, where either side I pick is going to be something. It's going to be something that I disagree with, and I just kind of just hope that what people are going to do is going to be, you know, heartfelt and help people for the most part.
Amen.
But at the end of the day, you know, we're all going to have our judgment time, and you know, and I think that you can't control everybody. You can't make everybody. I mean, because there's people that are in America that, you know, follow Islam. And there's people in America that Jehovah's Witness. And there's people in America that. So it's kind of like, even though we're based upon, you know, our whole structure was supposed to be about God and Christian and all of that. I mean, we're so many different people now. It's not just the Christian nation for the most part now. I mean, there's a bunch of different religions in there now. So it kind of, when you vote, we're not all Christians voting. So it's kind of like, okay, so we can't force anything on somebody else, but you want to believe what you want to believe in. So it's crazy. I done heard a lot of different stories from a lot of different pastors. So, and I mean, I listen, you know, and there's a bunch of different pastors I listen to, you know, that, you know, their emphasis is this, their emphasis is that, you know, and I just, you know, you can kind of tell people by their fruit. You know what I mean? People can say a lot of things, but I just go look at what they do.
Yeah.
You know, I don't just look at what they tell me. I'm gonna go look at what they're actually going to do and what they're really doing to others, or you know, are they really helping people, or are they just saying it?
Yeah.
You know,
I
mean, I've seen a lot of research on a lot of churches that were getting funding from the small business loans. Like churches were getting millions of dollars. And well, what are they doing behind the scenes with this money? So, you know, and there's some corporations that are getting the money, and what are they doing with the money? So, with all these people losing homes and can't even afford to buy a meal for their kids, but we're worried about gas prices, or I'm losing my stock prices right now. But there's people that ain't even eating food right now. So, I mean, it's kind of like you got to see which one is more important. You know, we all at the end of the day. I think we're all biased. Everybody's biased to their own perspective. And I always think of the allegory of the cave and Plato's allegory of the cave. We're all looking at what we want to look at, what images we want to believe in, and a lot of people are stuck in their position and they don't know how to let go of it. They're going to be in that position, and so, you know, we can't, we all see the world differently. We all looking at our own glasses, so, and, you know, we all have different lifestyles.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks, Devon. Thank you. Elizabeth, go ahead. She was jumping in to ask a question.
Who do you guys think the Antichrist is, if this is what's going on right now? Because, you know, I'm probably like a normal Christian who's looking around and trying to find these things, but I don't know. What do you guys think?
I could take that, but go ahead, Andy, if you want to.
To that question, I don't think he appeared yet. He's still coming through it. When you see the world go into that total peace that they're talking about, then that's when you see him appear. But so many people could fit his description right now with the things that they do and how charming it is. But it's almost like the one said, whichever side you look at, you can see evil. Whichever side you look at, you can see good. And it's almost like they play different pictures at different time of their life, and it's like so confusing that you need to stay in prayer. Just be a prayer warrior like Elizabeth is. You need to pray for every decision that you make, every little decision, and then you can't just live life like that and know that God got it in his hand. Knowing that these things are going to happen and it's going to happen. And the worst thing that's happening to me is that they play on your beliefs. So it's like we're Bible-believing people, and they play with your belief, and they say, but this person's doing that, and then this person's doing this, and then this person's doing these things, and you totally know it's against the God you believe in, and you're like, but he's doing these things that make it seem like he believes in my God. Then he's doing this thing, and then the both sides. It's like no matter what side you look at, you're gonna feel like they serve two masters. So with me, the biggest thing that been happening though is that my love for Jesus is labeling me religious, and I do not consider myself religious. I mean, I do consider me a person that follows Jesus with all his heart, that he is my father. And yes, I have some faults, some things I have to change, but he's the main thing in my life. And just having him as the main thing in my life gets everybody to call me religious. So it's almost like I always got to explain to people. And I don't get offended when they call me religious because I guess them seeing Christ as being religious. But it's also explaining to them because it gives me an opportunity to almost talk about salvation, to talk about why I have a personal relationship with him, why it's not religious, and that the religious people were the one who killed him. So these radical people, these people that go overboard with what it is, it's almost like, are you really representing Jesus? Because he loved these people, he loved this, and if God wanted to change everybody, he would have taken free will away. So, yes, I am against abortion. But is it that decision that person is almost like me drinking? God cleared me from drinking, so, I've been having little drinks and this and that, and it just hit me one day. He came a conviction for God. He said, I took the mud, why are you putting yourself back in it? And it's like, okay, that was a conviction he gave me personally. So if other Christians want to drink, I'm not going to judge. There was wine all around. But to me personally, and that's why I say I have a personal relationship with him. It's like me going to service to church. Sometimes I put some shirts that were kind of say I'm a large. They were kind of fitted on me, and like you said earlier, my arms are showing. So I was like, okay, I'm over here, and some women come with different type of clothing that might be attractive for temptation. So I'm doing the same thing. So God gave me a commission to wear bigger shirts when I go to church. Dude, I'm going to tell everybody that wears a little tight shirt or a woman that dresses a certain way, oh, you can't be around me, or you causing me to sin? No. It's personally, so that's what it is that people have to understand. You have a personal relationship with Christ. And if he's telling you to vote for this one, or telling somebody else to vote for somebody else, our life experience is different. Our experience with people sometimes makes some of the decision and how we not, because certain things are concrete, but certain things are not even valuable to judge about, and do your part. And always have that open communication with God.
Yeah. Well said, Andy. Well said. It's funny the last few months, and I told you I've been dabbling a little bit in how I, in some of the pleasures of the world, I should say. And it's more so because I do things to myself. I experiment on myself, whether it's a diet, doing keto for a couple of years and then switching over to something else to compare. Like I do constantly put myself through different things to experiment and see where people are. And even seeing in the last couple of months, not being in the Word, but kind of living worldly, I can see where people who aren't in the Word all the time can easily be persuaded and push and pulled to different opinions and whether they're facts or lies, and just be pulled apart. And I understand why people are suffering depression and understanding why people just don't have an understanding of what's going on, and they want to. And, to that also, to answer your question, Elizabeth, I mean, obviously the Bible tells us there's signs of the times. Jesus told us, when Israel becomes a country again, then by no means will that generation pass away without seeing the coming of the second coming of the Lord. There's scriptures that tell us that we are living in the end times, a generation, whether it's 80 years, 100 years, 60 years. There are scriptures that say that because Israel became a country in 1949, that because of that, we're going to see the coming of the Lord in that generation. And so a lot of people are purporting out there and they're looking for it. The one who brings peace, as Andy said, the one who brings peace, we know that's the Antichrist. Peace to the entire world. We're not just talking about localized peace. Peace to the entire world, where there's no more fighting, and the entire world raises this person on a pedestal to say that you are our God, you are our leader, and that's the Antichrist. And it's somebody who's going to be handsome and good looking to the world, where we know that Jesus was very plain looking. The scripture tells us he wasn't even noticed in a crowd. They didn't looking for him in a crowd. He was kind of plain. So, there's names thrown out there. QAnon, whoever rises up to be the Q, the one who's been spreading all these, that's from that side of it. People talk about George Soros as being that, and you got to look up billionaire George Soros, and him and Bill Gates. They're kind of in the same mindset as they don't care how the little people are hurt as long as they propel themselves. And it's the 0.01% of the elitist of the world. I don't know if you know this, Fort Knox or centralized banks are not government owned, they're private entities. And so the ones who own these banks and the ones who are running the money and schemes around the world, like all these, the 0.01% of the elitists who are puppeteering the rest of the world, they say out of that, is supposed to rise the Antichrist. Somebody who brings peace to the world. And so at the same time, the Antichrist, and, people, sorry, Lisa, but people are talking about the current Pope being, the false prophet, because Rasmussen stepping down for the first time in history, a Pope stepping down, and this other Pope coming up, Pope Francis, they're talking about him propelling the Antichrist. So you have to look into some of the world news and who's interacting with whom and who's helping whom is kind of where people are looking at or keeping their focus on as Christians to see how things are going to transpire towards the tribulation. So anyways, Lisa, your thoughts the last couple months.
Oh, it's my turn?
Yes,
so,
ma'am.
no, I don't really like this Pope, which is why I'm at the Rock Church. So, it's my friends who are really, really hardcore Christians. They keep going, he's a Jesuit, what do you expect? And I'm like, okay. So apparently Jesuits are known for being very intelligent. They start a lot of universities, but they have communistic economy or sense of money and tend to go off the deep end. So, yeah. I'm more of a John Paul
The second.
paparazzi kind of girl. Are you recording this?
Yes. You want me to stop?
Okay, yes.
Okay.
Never record with that.
Huh?
I said, yeah, never record me.